Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anah-Bhie Bareta, your reporter for today. My topic is all about fun poetry and the shape poems. But first, we need to discuss about the fun poetry. What is fun poetry and what are the examples under fun poetry? Fun poetry. From the word fun, it is something that amusing or an enjoyable experience, and it gives an entertainment. It is a style of poetry in its own right, different from the many other types of more serious verse. A style of poetry is often called a genre. But how to write a fun poetry? Fun poetry is humorous stories. Think of words, phrases, pop culture references, rhymes, and sounds that makes you laugh. Don't be afraid of using repetition for comedic effect. Make your poem fun or tongue twisty to read out loud. The power of fun poetry. Have fun writing your poem. Feel free to use your imagination. Get creative and adventurous and goofy that gives the reader an entertainment. Fun poetry has three examples, and these are the riddles, limerick, and haiku. But first, I'd like to discuss the riddles. Riddles. Riddles are These are poems which describe something or someone without naming it. The intrigue of a riddle is trying to guess the object, person, or idea being deceptively described. The intrigue means here is a secret plan. Riddles were some of the earliest types of poetry in the Philippines language. Unlike a lot of poetry, the riddle is a really participatory form. Why? Because the reader has to guess the object. The riddle is almost like a question which needs an answer. I know that some of you already know what is a riddle. So I have here an example of a riddle. The first one is, I'm long when I'm young. I'm short when I'm old. When there is no light, people think I'm gold. What am I? What do you think is the answer? The answer is candle. The second example. It can fly. It has butter in it, but you cannot eat it. What do you think is the answer? The answer is a butterfly. And the last example. I am in me. I am in her. I am in her, but I'm not in you. What do you think is the answer? The answer is the letter E. And these are the examples of the riddles. The next one. The next example under the fun poetry is a limerick. Limerick is a kind of humorous verse of 5 lines in which the first, second, and fifth lines rhyme with each other, which are shorter form of rhymed couplet. Limerick uses the rhyme scheme, which is A, meaning that the first two lines rhymed with each other, and then the next line and the last line rhymes with the first two lines. Okay, I have here an example for you to understand. This is an example. A limerick has 5 lines, not 9. Start by rhyming 2 lines real fine. Then rhyme another 2. It's pretty easy to do. Just don't forget the punchline. As you can see, the first, the second, and the last line has the rhyme scheme, which is 9, fine, and line. The third line and the fourth line is also the same. the to, and the do. If when you write it in a rhyme scheme, it will be A, B, B, and A. That is an example of a limerick. I have read another example. There was a young woman named Bright, whose speed was much faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and returned in the previous night. Okay? These silly rhymes were made famous by a man named Edward Lear. An Englishman also wrote the Book of Nonsense in the 1880s. The book is filled with over 200 nonsensical limericks, written and illustrated by the author himself. While Edward brought these short poems into the spotlight, it is believed that they originated in the 40s in the town of Limerick, Ireland. This is made by the famous man named Edward Lear. Okay. The last example of a pun poetry is a haiku. A haiku is a Japanese poetic form that consists of 3 lines with 5 syllables. In first line, 7 in the second, and 5 in the third. The haiku became a separate form of poetry in the 17th century. I have here the example of a haiku. Example number 1. Butterflies are cool in the big huge green forest. They fly up so high. And the example number 2. Summer here again. Music plays sweetly, drifting, and life is renewed. As you can see, the example 1 and 2 has the same construct. It means that the first line has consist of 5 syllables. The second line is consist of 7, and the last line, the third line, is consist of 5 syllables. So in the haiku, the construction of its poetry is 5-7-5. As you can see, when you try to gather syllables, the first butterflies are cool. It is a 5 syllables. And the second is in the big huge green forest. The 7 syllables. And the third line is they fly up so high. 5 syllables. Okay. And that is an example of a haiku. The next is the shape poem. A shape poem or concrete poem is an arrangement of words on a page into shapes or patterns that reveal an image, such as in a calligram. These visual poems are an artistic blend of a literary and the visual arts. Readers experience a shape poem via its words, typography, and the visual representation of a poem's subject. This type of visual poetry, it pairs the meaning of the poem is enhanced by the shape of the poem itself, rather than the actual words used. It means that this type of poem we can easily know its meaning based on the shape its poems construct. Okay, these are the examples of a shape poem. As you can see, the shape poem is a house. We can easily identify its meaning because it's constructed by a shape. This is a shape poem. It is about a house. As a shape poem, it forms the shape of a house. This is a little house, so it would be a little poem if it were a poem, but it's not because a poet I'm not. Okay? And also I have here another example. that one. That is an example of a shape poem. That's all of my report. Thank you for listening.